What's going down now? Now, this is not necessarily the wake up call. However, I do have something somewhat inspirational to share and something that I want you guys to follow. So, I've compiled the top 10 essential book list. I call it the Essential 10, the Essential 10 book list. These are books that I've read over this past year, many of them that I've read a second or third time this year. That I believe that every sales book, every real estate book, every other motivational book in some way references one or all of these books, or at least these books reference one of those other books that you've read. So in essence, if you read, if you collect these 10 books that I'm about to show you, and you read them over and over again, and every time you read a book, you tend to pull something different from it, you probably won't need to read another book again. You can adapt and interpret any of the ideas, any of the tactics, any of the techniques to any sales industry, any business industry, and really build a really good business, and also maintain a positive mindset as you're going through them. So, without further ado, I'm going to share the books one by one and just kind of tell you a little bit about it, what I've pulled from it overall, and then down below, you can click the call to action and download the list and go on out there to Amazon or wherever you buy your books from in order to get them. All right, so let's jump right in. The first book, and these aren't of any order of importance or anything like that. How to Become a Rainmaker. Now, this is a very easy read. Each chapter is probably about 2 or 3 pages long, more of a handbook, really, that I go back and reference all the time. The biggest thing that I pulled from this one is my 4 point day, right? It teaches you how to always keep your pipeline full by utilizing the 4 point day. Every day you want to go out and you want to get 4 points. It kind of gamifies your whole system and your process and allows you to stay on track every single day. So check this one out, How to Become a Rainmaker by Jeffrey J. Fox. The next book, The Real Secrets of the Top 20%. This guy calls himself Mr. Inside Sales, and there's a good reason why. He's got some of the best phone scripts, cold call openers, follow up openers, and questions that you can ask here. The Real Secrets of the Top 20% talks about mindset as well, pulls a lot from the book Think and Grow Rich, which is going to be coming up next, and also talks about at the end of the book how to set up your business as you become more and more proficient at sales, and how to make it so that you can make it more efficient by hiring an inside salesperson. But the biggest thing that I pulled from this is scripts, the way that you can connect with people right away, build rapport in a few seconds on a cold call, and also starting to develop the way that I've developed my business and treating my business as if I'm the inside sales rep, and then looking at hiring another inside sales rep to pull from and start going out there and just closing deals. All right. Frees up time and gives you a way to build a solid business around your sales practice, whatever sales practice that is. So the Real Secrets of the Top 20%, Mike Brooks, Mr. Inside Sales, recommended. Now, this one, if I say to pick up, if you don't pick up any other book off this list, definitely pick up Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich is definitely the number one, the top book on this list by Napoleon Hill. If you haven't heard about it, you must be under a rock, living under a rock or something. But Think and Grow Rich gives you everything from mindset. We're talking about organized planning. We're talking about specific knowledge, gaining specific knowledge, having faith, having desire. It gives you step by step how to accumulate wealth by building your mindset and building your activities around what it is that you want to do, and having a hyper focus on just one thing, and burn the boats, get out there and start making it happen. Think and Grow Rich. The biggest thing that I learned from this is having a specific knowledge, organized planning, and having a definite plan. And also some of the ways that it teaches you in your in what do they call it, auto responding, and things like that, where you're writing out your goals and repeating them to yourself and reading them in the morning, reading them before you go to bed. And the way that he talks about evaluating yourself and putting your goals down on paper, and the way to write out how you want to have your goals so that it's something that you can repeat to yourself over and over again to not only build up the belief and the faith in it, but also work on some of that universal stuff where they talk about the power of magnetism and bringing it to you by speaking it into existence. Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. Definitely recommend this. This would be number one. If you don't get any other book, go get this one. Another book by Mike Brooks, Mr. Inside Sales, The Ultimate Book of Phone Scripts. This is kind of the companion book to the Real Secrets of the Top 20%. But basically, it goes through one by one and breaks down phone scripts for just about every industry. There's even a chapter on real estate scripts in this one and how to handle objections. But again, dives deeper into specific scripts on cold call openers, how to build rapport, and how to maintain that connection when you're making outbound phone calls and prospecting. So, Ultimate Book of Phone Scripts. Go ahead and read through this one. Mike Brooks, Mr. Inside Sales, once again. Jeb Blunt is one of my favorite authors when it comes to sales and prospecting. This book is part of a series that he has, Objections, right? I'm going to go through a couple other books by him as well, but Objections really talks about the science behind why we all tend to avoid rejection, the difference between objections and rejection. And it also talks about your mindset and carrying forward how to just let some of those objections roll off your back. But the best part about it is his framework for turning around those objections. Something that's super easy, something that you can practice day in, day out, and something that you can use every single day in your prospecting. Not only prospecting objections, but also when you're in the deal, once you set the appointment and going through and closing the deal. So whether you're at appointments and getting objections to next steps and things like that, he calls them red herrings and all sorts of stuff. So there's so many valuable tips in this one. The biggest one taken away is because as salespeople, when we're making those outbound calls, the prospecting turnarounds for the objections is huge. Get you to the table, get you in the door, and get you to closing those deals. So Jeb Blunt, Objections. Definitely recommend this one as well. Jeb Blunt does it again. This was actually the first book that I read of his, Fanatical Prospecting. So this breaks down a bunch of different aspects. It dives a little bit into the objections from the other book, but not only that, it talks about having a balanced framework for your prospecting, whether you're doing over the phone, in-person prospecting, social media prospecting, emailing, text messages, and he provides frameworks for each one. So this is another book that I've taken and kind of combined a lot of the different strategies and techniques for cold calling openers, and just my overall approach when I'm making phone calls. A lot of it has come from this book and The Ultimate Phone Scripts by Mike Brooks. Putting those two together, killer combo. Definitely recommend. Fanatical Prospecting, Jeb Blunt. And last but not least, by Jeb Blunt. He has so many other books that I haven't read yet. He's just recently written a couple more, but these are the top three that I definitely recommend. Sales EQ. This talks about the emotional impact, the emotional part of selling, right? From both the prospect, your potential customer, and for you. How do you keep your emotions in check when you are on the phone, when you're prospecting, when you're in front of somebody? The biggest thing that I've gotten from all of his books is he says that the person with the most emotional control wins in a sales situation, and that's what I'm learning from this one. So this one also breaks down a lot of different frameworks on turning around objections, getting yourself psyched up and in a positive mindset for making those outbound calls, and sitting in your chair and making the calls that you need to make in order to be successful in sales. So I highly recommend reading these three books back to back: Fanatical Prospecting, Objections, and Sales EQ by Jeb Blunt. Mac Hannon comes through with a classic book, over 100,000 copies sold. You can see at the top of this one, Consultative Selling. Now, for real estate, a lot of times when you're starting to read some of these books, you'll notice that they're a lot of times geared towards business to business sales. But you can definitely take a lot out of this because it talks about ways of framing questions and placing yourself on the same side of the table as your potential customer. So instead of coming in and looking at them as an adversary, you're looking at them as a partnership. And how do you come into a situation, a listing appointment to be, for example, or a buyer consultation, to talk to them in a way that dollarizes what they're doing, How do you become a investment to your potential customer? This is a great book to read to get you in the mindset of structuring questions and how to structure your actual listing appointment when you go sit down with the potential customer. Now, if you're not in the real estate industry and you're watching this video right now, this can be adapted to any arena, any sales arena, any business arena where you're sitting down and you're going out and selling a service. When you're selling a service, you should consider yourself to be a consultant. This is a great book to check out. So, Mac Hannon, Consultative Selling. Mike Brooks back at it again. Like I said, I find authors that I like to follow, and when I see a book that comes out by them, I go ahead and pick it up. Power Phone Scripts. This is kind of the updated version of the Ultimate Phone Script book that I showed you earlier. Power Phone Scripts goes through, again, it gives you literally breakdowns of how to open up a cold call, how to open up a follow-up call, how to open up a check-in call, things like that when you're calling on your prospects, how to connect instantly, build instant rapport, and get the other person on the phone talking in a way to sound different. So Power Phone Scripts, this is definitely another one. It doesn't have the breakdown of industry in this one, which I think is good because you can still take away from it. You can take away from it the bits and pieces that you want and craft your own specialized approach when you're making your sales calls. This is huge. It also talks about objections in here. And again, it's another one of those books that I kind of pair with the books by Jeb Blunt, because those two, when it comes to outbound sales and Mr. Inside Sales and outbound prospecting, these two keep you right. So, Power Phone Scripts, Mike Brooks. And last but certainly not least, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. When it comes to negotiating, this is the essential book for you to read. Now, I've used a lot of these tactics when it comes down to receiving offers on homes, presenting offers to sellers, presenting my buyers' offers to potential sellers, and things like that. Listen, when you're in real estate, you'll soon realize that the biggest negotiation is not between you and the buyer or the buyer's agent, it's actually between you and your client. So when you're explaining and presenting offers, that negotiation tends to start right there when you're presenting the offer with your client. Now, how do you do that without feeling like you're pushing your clients away or doing anything like that? You have to understand how to do that and how to communicate effectively. Never split the difference. This is the way to do it. Tactical empathy, mirroring, labeling, all of those things come into play whenever you're presenting offers, when you're setting appointments, when you're on a listing appointment, when you're talking with your buyers. Everything is a negotiation, and this is a great book to reference. This book, I've read this book 5 times already. I read it once a year. I always make sure to read it once a year because every time I pick it up, I find something different. So Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss. Go check it out. All right, that's it. That's the essential 10 book list. Now, this was a little bit of a longer video, but I wanted to explain what I've gotten from each of those books. And hopefully, it's something that inspires you to go out, check out these books, go pick them up, and start reading them one by one. Keep them in your library. Don't just download the audiobook and listen to it. Go read the book, sit down with it, highlight it, dog ear the pages, take notes, do whatever it may be. If you don't have any other 10 books in your library, these are the 10 books you should have. Go back and read them over and over again and continue growing. All right. Appreciate y'all for watching. Click that link down below to download the list. Make it a reference. Go pick up those books. Stay in the pocket.